Aloha everyone, this is Dr. BethAnne. I am an author, an intuitive psychologist, and an empath, and I craft content for highly sensitive spiritual souls. I also live up in the jungles of Kauai, and we have a lot of roosters, and they're making a racket right now, but we're making this video anyways, because we have been talking about self-acceptance during the month of September, and I want to dive into that a little bit more deeply and talk about why I think that's so important. The goal for any of us, I think, on our spiritual journey is to really learn to listen to our heart, to open our heart to ourselves, to really drop into our intuition and to trust the voice of our soul. And that means we have to learn how to be our own compass, how to develop a sense of true north inside of ourselves, a sense of an internal map, if you will, that we can really drop into when we need to navigate any of life's challenges. So self-acceptance, it's more than just like I love myself or accept all parts of myself. I really see self-acceptance as accepting the authority of the self and learning to become an expert on our own self. And so we need all these qualities of cultivating like self-love and self-grace and self-empathy and self-compassion and all of those things if we're going to become our own expert. Because digging into the terrain of the deeper self, like truly knowing yourself, requires a lot of courage. It requires fierce scrutiny. It requires being able to hold aspects of ourselves up to the light and examine them and be honest about them and learn to see human parts of ourselves that might feel messy and icky and sticky, learning to see them through the eyes of love. Becoming an expert on ourselves, accepting ourselves to that big of a degree, it's lifelong work. And I believe it is the inner work of the spiritual path, because the one thing that each of us has going for ourselves that nobody else in the world can even hold a candle to is we have the ability to become an expert on ourselves. We were created with such love and joy. When I work with spirit and I'm doing mentoring or spiritual channeling for somebody, like there's so much love pouring through of how the universe and the angels and spirit views us. We're so seen through that divine lens of being these beautiful divine beings having a human experience. And part of that experience means that we signed up to feel the full spectrum of human emotions, from like the darkest and the hardest stuff to also the most jubilant and wonderful experiences. And it's the dark, shadowy stuff that can be really hard for us, right? Like we all like feeling the stuff that we feel when we're on the mountaintop. It's the stuff that's like really challenging that can be harder for us to work with because we feel like we're like failing at being human. We feel like we're falling apart. That's the pain point. And the pain point is always where our diamonds are found. It's not really on the mountaintop during those mountaintop high experiences. It's really down in the mud, going through the hard stuff, going through our suffering, going through our pain, working with really difficult aspects of self. That's where we dig into them and we kind of unearth the gems, the light. That's where we are broken open. That's where there's space for new information to come through. That's where we become more compassionate, more wise, more loving, more understanding of humanity and our fellow human beings' experience. If anybody's ever taken a grief journey, you know in that space that anybody who's ever been on a grief journey has felt isolated, they have felt alone, they have felt wretched, they have felt like this will never shift, that they can't possibly bear the heartache and the pain that they're going through. And one of the things that I found, I've been on what I would call several grief journeys, but I'm specifically referring to the loss of my brother. And what I learned from that was being in that space. It gave me so much just compassion and grace and love for how hard it is to be human, how sometimes we get to these like dark nights of the soul and we can't shift ourselves no matter what we do. No amount of reading, watching videos, having perspective, writing out positive thoughts will shift shift that stuff. We're just kind of in the mud. And I believe that self-acceptance means just staying present with ourselves, just staying present with our experience, just staying present with whatever's coming up, staying present with our dark, ugly, icky emotions. And I also believe that the divine spiritual part of that is trying to bring just like a pinprick of light in, just a little seed of light, just a little seed of love into that, just a little seed of knowing that yes, we're human, but we're these beautiful, amazing, divine souls too. Right before I made this video, I just did a quick check-in. One of my gifts is angelic communication, and I often work with Archangel Ariel as a channel. And I said, is there anything that you want me to share today in this video? And her message was so simple, and it was so pure, and it was like, you belong here. Each of you, you belong here. All you need to know that you belong here is that you are here. Out of the infinite creative possibilities in the universe, the fact that you exist, that is your golden ticket to knowing that you belong to this space and time and that you have purpose on this planet. It doesn't matter what anybody else has told you. It doesn't matter what others might have said about you or your journey, how you might have been misunderstood, how you might have been judged. It doesn't matter how you might misunderstand and how you might judge yourself. None of that wipes out that gold ticket pass that says in the eyes of the universe, you are golden and you're meant to be here. You're meant to be here to embody yourself. And I believe embodying ourselves and becoming our own experts is accepting ourselves, to the nth degree, accepting ourselves to that really deep core space so that we're so open to all aspects of who we are, that we're present with ourselves. And we know that each of those aspects has something to say. And when we're doing that, that's when we move and shift from living a life where others validate who we are to where we can validate who we are, where we learn to trust our heart, where we learn to drop in to our intuition, where we learn to start to draw a map of ourselves and know how to navigate these darker, harder aspects of being human. That's when we really show up for ourselves in these profoundly powerful ways. So the chickens just stopped squawking. Thanks for doing that the whole video, you guys. So I guess that's my cue to wrap it on up. And I will be back tomorrow to talk about more ideas around self-acceptance and loving ourselves. And I hope you have an amazing rest of the day or evening, wherever life finds you right now. Much aloha and light to you.